Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fell Football Podcast. It is the final episode of the draft previews, and it is the big one, my final mock draft. I'm also excited to be joined by Liam back on the pod. Liam, how's everything going, mate?
Yeah, doing well, mate. Feels good to be back. Draft Eve, isn't it? I suppose it's sort of Friday morning for us, but sort of tomorrow for everyone else. So yeah, very excited to see how it all unfolds.
Are you going to be staying up till 3 for the Bengals pick?
I'm probably not, mate. No, probably gonna wake up, or I'll probably check my phone in the middle of the night to see what's happened. But I feel like the first couple of picks are fairly self-explanatory. One, two, well, one, two actually. I don't know about
Yeah,
already
it's
don't know
three.
about three from there.
Yeah, I know. It just feels like this is the most unknown draft in a number of years. And I think people said that last year. There was sort of like, do you remember it was like Tyree Wilson, who went to the Raiders, was the favorite to go at 2. And then like Will Anderson came in, like to be
Yeah,
favorite at 2. And then the night of the draft, CJ Stroud just plummeted to 1 to 8 to be number 2 pick. It was like, yeah, it was crazy. But I think this year, I think 1, 2, 3 are nailed, are chalked. But after that, I really, really don't know. So let's preface this mock draft by saying I've gone a little bit ballsy because what's the point of not having a little bit of fun with it? But also, I really, really feel like no one's got a clue at all. So yeah, do you want to introduce the picks, mate, one by one, and I'll go through it. And obviously, there's the share screen as well. There are a few trades, so we'll get to those shortly. I will say.
absolutely. So yeah, we'll start off. The Chicago Bears obviously have the first pick with it was from the Panthers, wasn't it? Somehow that's happened. Panthers obviously threaten that the situation they're in now. But yeah, who are the Bears going to pick, mate?
The Bears, this pick has been done for months, if not years in the making. It's going to be Caleb Williams. Yeah, I mean they get their franchise pastor of the future, moved on from Justin Fields, and this is an absolute no brainer.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think I think they know they're getting him, especially with some moves in free agency. Obviously bought in Keenan Allen for a weapon for him. And potentially see what they do at nine as well. I can see could be another weapon there potentially. But no, number two, we've got the Washington Commanders, and who are they going to select, mate?
Yeah, this has been a little bit more of a journey to get to this destination. I think there's been a little bit of talk about where they could go, but the way the winds are blowing right now, it looks like it is going to be Jaden Daniels. I think he's a quite heavy favorite to go at 2. Heisman Trophy winner, dual threat QB. Um, yeah, nearly 5K all-purpose yards last year in college, and the Commanders land one of the most dynamic QB prospects in a couple of years.
Yeah, be interested to see how they do if they do pick Jane Daniels, new head coach, new QB, sort of a fresh start over there in Washington. That'd be good to see. Uh, Rare spot for the New England Patriots, obviously after a pretty dismal season last year. They're picking number three. Who do they go?
Well, there's definitely some universe where I think the Patriots would entertain trading down here. I struggle to see how if Drake May falls to the Patriots at number 3, they're not going to select him. Now, obviously, the Patriots have a lot of holes on their roster. You know, they're not very. They've not been explosive since Brady left. Basically, Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi. I think was it Cam came in for a year, and
Yeah,
it's just never really worked out for a quarterback there. I think Mac Jones was sort of serviceable at best. So I'm going to give the Patriots Drake May, who was my number 2 quarterback. So in theory, they do get a little bit more value there. But head coach Jared Mayo said the Patriots will draft the best player for a position that's very important. And I think May fits that bill perfectly.
yeah, another new era in New England potentially coming. Obviously, Belichick gone. Quarterback play, as you said, has been less than ideal since, of course, Brady left, which it probably was always going to be. But yeah, hopefully Drake May. So I do like the Patriots. So yeah, hopefully Drake May. I don't really know much about him. Yeah, hopefully he can get them back on track in what could be an interesting interesting division last year. Sorry, next year for sure. Number 4, Arizona Cardinals. Feel like they've been picking around this position for the last 5 years. Who are they going to take this year?
Yeah, this is again another team who definitely have potential to trade down. I think they're probably more likely to move than the Patriots. But they've said they'll only trade down on the as soon as it's their pick. They won't entertain anything before then. So I think while Monty Austin will consider a trade back here, the Cardinals will stand pat and select the best overall prospect in the draft, in my opinion, which is Marvin Harrison Jr. Elite hands, elite separation, consistent, and just fills a massive void in the Cardinals receiver room.
Yeah, there's not much going on there for pass catchers for Kyler Murray. Cardinals there are 1 to 20 to take a wide receiver, so that pick looks pretty nailed on. Who we number 5, the LA Chargers.
Yeah, and I'm getting bored of saying this, but this is also another trade down spot, I think. And it's also, see, this is tough because this could be a spot for a trade up for a quarterback. Obviously, the Chargers do not need a quarterback. They've got Justin Herbert. Did you see their odds to take quarterback at number 5 went from 150 to 1 to 6 to 1, like overnight or
Oh,
something
really?
crazy? Yeah,
I've
I
got it
mean,
at 20. I've got it 20 to 1 here.
oh yeah, I think it's got absolutely smashed in from about the 150s. Obviously, that's not going to happen. And there's a few ways they can go. I mean, their receiver room is completely depleted, obviously losing Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. But all the rage seems to be about Jim Harbaugh wanting to rebuild through the trenches. I'm going to say Joe Alt is their pick here at number 5, 6'8". He's primarily been a left tackle, so it might be a little less than ideal with Rashawn Slater on the other side. They'll have to work at that out a little bit, but yeah, I think this gives the Chargers 2 potential franchise tackles. This could be JC Latham because he's very good in the running game and he's predominantly played right tackle, so it'd make the transition a little bit easier. But yeah, I think this is going to be Joel.
Yeah, no, I do get what you mean there, especially given their wide receiver room. Obviously, Quinton Johnson not so great last year, lots of drops. They brought in Dobbins and Gus Edwards, I think it was, wasn't it? Obviously from
Yep.
Baltimore. So yeah, wouldn't surprise me if they do ignore receiver again here and try and uh, try and go through that running game with another tackle. So that's Joe Alt from Notre Dame. We're on to New York Giants now. They could do many a thing here, but what do you think they're going to do?
Yeah, the Giants, they could go a number of ways. They probably need to beef up the offensive line. Obviously, I know you said Danny DeVito. What was his name again? Tommy DeVito was him and Daniel Jones. I'm pretty sure were 2 of the most sacked quarterbacks in the NFL last year. So offensive line is definitely under consideration here. QB has got to be under consideration here, I think. Obviously, Daniel Jones coming off brutal ACL injury and a pretty rough season beforehand. But I just think when I look at their receiver room, they really don't have a receiver in the profile of Rome Odunze, the big body receiver. They've got Jalen Hyatt, Wandale Robinson, those kind of quick guys who can maybe take the top off, but I do think they're more likely to go with Rome Odunze at this point over Malik Nabers just because Odunze's profile is a little bit more suited to their needs.
Yeah, no, I'd be a big fan of that pick. Very good talent there from Washington. But yeah, you never know if one of the QBs drop at the top 3, or I mean, you even saw it a couple of years ago when they picked Daniel Jones. I remember that sort of being completely out of nowhere. No one sort of had him near the first round, and they just picked him. I think it might be 5 or 6. I think so.
Yep, it was
Who
definitely a top
knows if
10
they
pick. Yeah.
go? Yeah, who knows if they go for one of the quarterbacks there? Who got 7? Tennessee Titans. What are they doing?
Well, the Tennessee Titans do not literally have a left tackle on their roster. Um,
That's a problem.
Andre Dillard departed. I think they released him a couple of weeks ago. He's wound up somewhere else. And their line play was just so poor last year. I think Tennessee taking a tackle is about as nailed on as the Cardinals taking a tackle. But what I would say is Malik Nabers can't really be ruled out here. I think, we saw obviously Brian Callahan when he was offensive coordinator with the Bengals. The Bengals had the big decision between Penei Sewell and Jamar Chase. And in that scenario, the Bengals went for Jamar Chase over Penei Sewell. So a bit of dot connecting there. I really wouldn't rule out receiver here, but I do think Tennessee just has to get so much better on the O-line. And it's a bit of a shock. JC Latham is probably maybe the fourth or fifth consensus tackle in this class, but I'm going to give him there. I know he's also played predominantly right tackle and not left tackle, but the Titans just need to get so much better in their offensive line play.
Yeah, they're 2 to 9 to select a tackle, so pretty nailed on again. And yeah, no, yeah, I know what you mean when you said about Chase, but I think Brian's dad, Bill Callahan, who's on the coaching staff, known as sort of the GOAT offensive line coach,
Yeah.
might have a word with his son, the head coach there, to pick up a tackle. Selection number 8. We've got a trade. Talk me
We've
through it,
got
mate.
our first trade of the draft. Now, this trade device was being a little bit buggy earlier, so you have
Okay,
to
let's see
bear with
this.
me if
So it's Falcons pick, is it? It's Falcons pick.
the Falcons pick and it's the Minnesota Vikings trading up a couple of spots. Now, they don't have to give up their other first round pick in this scenario, which is great. That's great news for them. The Falcons have traded down, and the Vikings are trading up for JJ McCarthy, their quarterback of the future. I just think the Vikings are the best landing spot for any quarterback needy team this offseason by a mile. You know, the offensive line's good. Christian Darrisaw is a nice cornerstone piece there. TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, obviously Justin Jefferson as well. And yeah, in this scenario, like I said, they managed to hang on to pick 23 as well. It might not happen like that on draft night. I'm not a massive guru at the draft value charts and what, they've got like points and it all has to add up. I don't really know about that, but let's say in this scenario, they hang on to it and they take JJ McCarthy, who has had an astronomical rise in this draft process.
Very nice. So Vikings were originally picking at 23?
So they were picking at 11 and 23 because they
Oh,
had
11. Okay. So I didn't
they
realize
had
they had 11.
no, yeah, they had the Texans. They did the trade of the Texans, didn't they? And they swapped some picks
Yes.
around. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, that'd be a ideal spot for any rookie quarterback getting the one of the best receivers in the league. Bears up on the board again. What are they going with?
well, this is pretty much, I think, a dream scenario for the Bears. They've taken Caleb Williams, who is the best quarterback in the draft. And now they can take Malik Nabers, who is, in many's eyes, apparently the best receiver in the class. I don't quite buy into that logic, but yeah, I think tackle will definitely be in play here. I think trade back might be in play here as well. Potentially edge, but probably a little bit too early for that. But I think the thought of pairing Caleb Williams with Malik Nabers will just be a little bit too tempting for the Bears, for Ryan Poles. And yeah, putting him with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen will be giving NFC North secondaries headaches.
Yeah, that would be a serious trio. Pick number 10, New York Jets. What's going on there? Who's Aaron Rodgers picking?
Yeah, so this is a tough one because I do think that Brock Bowers could be in play here because the Rodgers experience obviously has been a disaster in year one through no fault of his own, but maybe through poor offensive line play. And now you're thinking, okay, so do we want to protect Rodgers or do we want to give Rodgers another attacking weapon? It could be Bowers. I think they're just a little bit more likely to take tackle. I'm going to give them Olu Fashanu, tackle out of Penn State. For me, this is obviously they signed two tackles in free agency. They signed Morgan Moses. Or I think did they trade for Morgan Moses, right tackle, and then from the Cowboys, Tyron Smith. So they have got two tackles who are both decent, but they're both. I think Smith's 33 and Morgan Moses had injury issues. They both got injury issues. They can't let what happened to Rodgers happen again. So as much as they are tempted to get a big offensive splash playmaker for Aaron Rodgers, they take the safer option here, which is tackle.
Yeah, with Mekhi Becton off the roster as well, that comes an even more possibility. We've got even money, the offensive line there. So one of the 2-1 is the tight end. Obviously, that would be Brock Bowers. The offensive line could be one of many, sort of as there's a couple up here. Um, Now we go to the Falcons, who are picking at 11 after the trade with Minnesota. Where are they going?
Yeah, I think this has worked out pretty well for the Falcons. They pick up another pick later on in the draft. They can trade back and they still get their guy, which is Dallas Turner, edge Alabama. The Falcons have got a big need at edge. There's no real number one edge option on their roster, and they've lost Clay's Campbell and Bud Dupree, who were their top sack guys last year, 6.5 each, which is still, a pretty poor effort considering. So Dallas Turner slots in nicely, and he slots in nicely in terms of the scheme as well. The name of the Falcons DC escapes me, but he likes to drop edge rushers into coverage a fair bit, and Dallas Turner did a fair bit of that during college. It could be Laiatu Latu, but I think scheme fit wise, it's probably a little bit better for Dallas Turner.
Very nice. Pick 12 should be your Denver Broncos, but you've got Sean Payton and the fellas making a move backwards. Who's coming up?
Yep, Sean Payton and George Payton are live on the phones. The Patriots definitely not trading up. The Philadelphia Eagles are trading up. They give up there's a pick swap and number 53 in the second round. They're coming up to take Quinion Mitchell. We know how proactive the Eagles are
Yeah,
at
they love it,
drafting.
don't they? Yeah,
They draft ahead of needs way in the future, and they also crucially here leapfrog the Las Vegas Raiders, who I think definitely are in the shout of taking a corner. Mitchell, super athletic, smashed the combine, smashed the Senior Bowl, and James Bradbury, Darius Slay, both been great players over the years, both in their 30s now, coming off a pretty average season. So the Eagles move to secure their corner number one of the future.
yeah, that secondary did need work. That would be a good move for Philly. As you said, they leapfrog Vegas. Who are they picking at 13?
Yeah, and I think the Raiders could consider Terrion Arnold here, who is my CB number two in the class. But I think what makes a little bit more sense for the Raiders, if I can find him, Troy Fatanu, tackle out of Washington. His versatility across the line makes him one of the more intriguing options in this tackle class. And the Raiders do have a need at right tackle after losing Jermaine Lemonor in free agency. And Fatanu allowed just 3 sacks during his time in college, but they could also play him at guard or left guard, or right tackle. So
Pick 14, the New Orleans Saints. Where are they going?
yeah, I mean the Saints, their massive need at the moment is a tackle, like many teams in this draft. There are a lot of doubts over the long-term health of Ryan Ramczyk, their current right tackle, and Trevor Penning has been a bit of a disaster since he's been in New Orleans. And I think Amaris Mims has risen up quite a lot of draft boards recently. He could prove to be the answer for them at right tackle if Ryan Ramczyk can't play at all. And yeah, New Orleans need to protect Derek Carr better than they did last year, so they take Amaris Mims.
Yeah, I've seen Mims. A lot of Bengals fans wanting Mims as the tackle for the future. So a bit annoying if the Saints grab him there. 15 in Indianapolis Colts. Sorry, I don't know why I pronounced it like that. Anthony Richardson getting a weapon here, mate.
He is indeed. I did consider Brian Thomas Jr. here, sort of a receiver that the Colts don't really have in their mold, tall, really quick, can take the top off. But look who's still here. Brock Bowers, who is not just a tight end, he is a playmaking machine. I do think corner will also be under serious consideration here. Terrion Arnold
Mm.
still on the board, but Bowers is probably a top 5 to 7 prospect in this class, and I don't think the Colts could turn down adding another playmaker for Anthony Richardson here.
Mike McDonald makes his first pick for Seattle. Obviously, a defensive guy. Does he go defense?
Mike McDonald does indeed go defense, and he takes a bit of a strange one because obviously the Seahawks have two good starting corners in Devin Witherspoon, who's a top five pick, and Tariq Woolen, who was a round five pick. They're both young, great prospects, but DeJean would fit well with Mike McDonald's style of defense. He can also play safety. He could just be a kind of gadget guy, a bit like Kyle Hamilton was at the
Yeah,
Ravens. So it's a move that works out for everyone.
Jags very busy in free agency. What do they do with their pick 17?
Yeah, the Jags could be another team here for Brian Thomas Jr. There's no definite number one receiver on their team after losing Calvin Ridley, so that's definitely a potential route they could go. But they are going to go with Terry Arnold. Obviously, they lost Darius Williams in free agency, who was pretty good last year. And their pass defense last year in general, though, was pretty horrible. So if they lose their best CB, then they need to add a new and potentially better one in Terry Arnold.
Seen some posts on Twitter there that that could be a potential Brandon Ayuk pick or trade with the
Yes,
49ers. That, and I think it
definitely
was the
in
Colts.
play.
I think it was, and the Colts as well. I think it was Jags and the Colts I saw. So interesting to see how that plays out. My Bengals picking at 18. Who are we going?
Your Bengals, mate. Now, I think tackle is in play here,
Hmm.
but lost DJ Reader in free agency and need to get a little bit tougher up front. I think Byron Murphy, the second out of Texas, board's fallen quite nicely for that, I think, and you just nip ahead of the Rams, who have a pretty glaring need at D line as well. So Byron Murphy works out nicely for you.
Yeah, wouldn't be against that. Wouldn't be against the wide receiver. Be honest, wouldn't be against any offensive lineman either. So pretty good
Yeah,
position for the Bengals to be in.
definitely a
But just
number
look,
a number of ways you could go there. So yeah,
yeah, just looking at the odds. 1-2 for offensive lineman, 7-2 for defensive lineman. There's been a bit of talk about cornerback as well.
yes,
Recently as well. That's come down. I think that was about 20-1 a couple of nights ago. That's now 5-1 with receiver there at 6-1. So yeah, plenty of options for the Bengals. I've got another trade here. I guess this is the Rams pick, is it? What are they doing with this?
yep. This is the Rams pick, and because the Bengals have just nipped in front of them to take Byron Murphy, they are trading down with a team who desperately need a receiver on their roster. It's the Buffalo Bills, and we'll do the trade value here. I'm not sure how this works out. Are they going to give up is it the second? Yep, the second. It was a little bit more heavy towards the Rams that trade, but it's all right. It doesn't matter. So yeah, the Buffalo Bills trade up for their receiver by Byron Brian. Too many Byrons. Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, GM Brandon Beane has said he's happy with his receiving room, but who is it? Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir. I don't see a number. I don't see a number two guy in there, to be completely honest.
No.
So I think Brian Thomas Jr. would just offer a significantly different profile to any of their current crop. And yeah, the Bills move up to secure their receiver after trading Stephon Diggs away. And just a little bit of news: Penei Sewell has signed a humongous extension with the Lions. Four
Where's
years,
Penny?
4 years, 112 million. So congrats to that man.
Phew,
What's that?
fair
20,
play.
28 a year, I think. That's
4 years,
ginormous.
120, 30, isn't it?
112, sorry. 4 years,
Oh,
112.
112. Oh, okay. Yeah, about 27, 28. Yeah. Now that is a big deal, yes. Where are we going now? Pick 20, come to the business end. Pittsburgh Steelers, where are they going?
Yeah, the Steelers have actually some glaring issues across their O line. They need a center desperately. They also could use a guard and probably a tackle. And with either Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, maybe under center, they're going to need some pretty good play from their O line. Graham Barton, another guy like Vertanu, good versatility, can play center, can play guard. So he would immediately fill a need on the O line.
Very nice. Who have we still got on the board then? Just looking at the screen, couple of DBs at the top there. Oh
Yeah,
no,
a
sorry,
few
just got it
few
down.
edges.
Edge
Yeah,
rushers. Okay,
couple of
yeah, it's not.
tackles.
Yeah, only one gone off the board. That's not sort of happened in the last couple of years, have we? But as we say that, Miami Dolphins, where do they go?
Yeah, the Miami Dolphins, they could go a few ways. I think tackle would potentially be in play for them as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, they lost a few of their guys on O-line in free agency. Um, Connor Hunt, or was it Robert Hunt or Connor Williams? That might
Uh,
be. I might just mix up like four different people, but
so Robert Hunt was the guard. He got paid loads by the Panthers, I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
And
And
then
then
Connor Williams was the center, I'm pretty sure. I
yeah,
couldn't tell you where he's gone.
I think they lost two pretty big players there. So O-line could be in play, but I think Laitu Latu makes a lot of sense here. Obviously, Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips, two great players, but they're both coming off major injuries and they lost Christian Wilkins as well in free agency. So they need to get a little bit better rushing the passer. And as you say, well, as anyone says, you can never have too many pass rushers.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised them taking sort of Miami there, just taking a speedster. I know Nate Wiggins, didn't he ran one of the quickest 40s.
Yeah.
So yeah, wouldn't be surprised them just obviously with the offensive side being so quick, wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to bolster up that defensive side as well, some
Yeah.
speed.
They lost
Um,
Xavier Howard, didn't they? He's still a free
yes,
agent. Obviously, he had a foot issue, so I think that's getting resolved and
yeah.
he'll probably get picked up after the draft.
So's that I just had that. So's that Connor Williams. He didn't get picked up anyone. So
Oh, really? Interesting.
they obviously they obviously weren't that good. Third trade, I believe it is. Who have we got? The Baltimore Ravens. Where are they
Yep.
trading? They're trading to number 22.
Yep. And this is the Broncos who are
Oh, again.
happy to let the board slide. They're happy to let it
Okay.
go. They are giving pick number 22 to the Ravens. The Ravens are sending back pick number 30 and their set and oh no, it's not their second rounder. It's and then the Broncos fourth rounder. So there's a bit of a pick swap in there. And the Ravens are trading up for Talese Fuanga, tackle out of Oregon State. This is a bit of a slide for Fuanga. I don't know if he will make it this far down on the actual evening. But with Ronnie Stanley's injury record and Daniel Falele struggling a bit last year, Fuanga's slide ends at the Ravens and they trade up to grab him.
Yeah, they can't. Yeah, Ronnie Stanley can't keep. Can't seem to play 2 games in a row. Never mind 2 bloody downs in a row. And they did have. I think they had Moses there last year, a right tackle. I'm pretty sure. So
They
obviously
did, yeah.
he's gone as well. So yeah, a bit of a hole there. Vikings, their second pick of the draft. Where do they go?
Yep. And then in this scenario, they managed to hang on to their pick, which would be a pretty good result for them.
Yes, yeah.
So they are, there was once a guy called Jared who was a pretty good pass rusher for Minnesota, Jared Allen. I
Hmm.
know they've obviously lost Danielle Hunter in free agency. So they take their next Jared of the future, Jared Verse, out of Florida State. He feels an immediate need at edge for the Vikings.
Yeah, I think they'll be very happy with that. The Cowboys, where do they go?
Well, the Cowboys have a gaping hole at left tackle on their roster after losing Tyron Smith. I think they're sort of like the Titans. They don't really have anyone who can play there. But they are more than happy to draft Tyler Guyton, who falls to them here, gave up just 2 sacks in his college career, and he is also a Texas native. So there's a bit of a narrative there as well.
Yeah, they'll be big fans of that. 25 Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, this is a tough pick because it's for me between one of these two guys, Nate Wiggins and Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think I think he's all round sort of just a more solid corner. Nate Wiggins is a bit more traitsy. Obviously, yeah, he had a really good combine, really good 40 time. Um, he was also great last year as well. Kool-Aid only allowed a 73 passer rating when targeted last year. And the reason I think Green Bay would go corner here is because, firstly, Brian Gutekunst, the GM, loves drafting secondary in the first couple of rounds. Darnell Savage, Eric Stokes, Jairo Alexander, just to name a few. There's a couple more. So I think and there's current, injury concerns. Alexander played about 6 games, 7 games last year, I think, and Eric Stokes missed time as well. So they will take Kool-Aid McKinstry just as a solid all-round option at corner.
Yeah, with those, I mean, to be fair on that, that division, the receiving cores are getting better and better. Obviously, if the draft goes as you say, the Bears will have a great one. Lions have a great receiving core, and so do the Vikings. So yeah, much need for defense in the NFC North. Also, hands down, the best name in the draft, by the way.
Oh yeah, too good.
26, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Where do they go?
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers desperately need an edge rusher. Their second highest sack getter last year was their safety, Antoine Winfield Jr., who is, a good player, but probably shouldn't be the guy getting your second most sacks. We're going to go Chop Robinson out of Penn State. This is a pretty common spot for him. I think this is literally his line is 26 and a half under over. So at 26 to the Bucks makes a lot of sense. And they lost Shaq Barrett in free agency. So yeah, he can replace that hole nicely.
Did indeed, and get pretty good odds for that, 15-8 for the Bucks to pick a defensive lineman. So potentially some value there.
What's the favorite though?
Last, so that is the favorite. Yeah, it's
Oh,
all
okay.
sort of, and
Yeah.
then 2-1s offensive lineman and 2-1 cornerback as well. So they don't have a clue, the bookies, of what's going in Tampa Bay. Got another trade. Vegas seems to be picking now. They're taking the pick of the Cardinals.
Yes, they have indeed. Now, for people watching this on YouTube, this is where the draft mock simulator has crashed the last two times when I've tried this trade. So I'm going to try it now. If it crashes, then we'll just put the player who's coming up here into the spot, and then you can just live with it, I'm sure. So the Cardinals, they love a trade down. They could probably come back up into the first round if they really wanted to. The Raiders packaged together 44 and 77, and it's crashed. Great, whatever.
Oh,
We'll just take him. This player is obviously not going to the Cardinals. They are not going to take Michael Penix Jr., but Michael Penix Jr. is a Raider in this scenario. So yeah, that's people can just live with that. That's not the Cardinals taking him. Promise. Yeah, I think the Raiders are pretty enamored with Jaden Daniels, and I think they've been pounding the phones to try and get up to number 2 to take him, trade with Washington. But Washington also seem to love Jaden Daniels. So, yeah, in this scenario, they trade back up for Michael Penix Jr. ahead of the Denver Broncos, who have had a 30 visit with Penix Jr.
yes, that's pick 27, Raiders, Michael Penix Jr. Antonio Pierce gets his guy after he seems to be saying a lot of good things about oh god, what's his name? The QB there now.
Gardner Minshew or O'Connell.
Oh, O'Connell. Of course, they signed Minshew as well. They
Yeah.
paid him quite a lot.
Yeah,
So
it was
yeah,
two years, 10, was it 2 years, 20 million? I think it might have been.
yeah, something like that. Yeah. So yeah, interesting if that goes off. See what happens with Aiden O'Connell. Very average last year. I'd be surprised if they sort of believe him as the QB of the future. So yeah, no, that would be a fun pick. Rams obviously lost their guy Byron Murphy to the Bengals. Who do they go at 28?
Well, after Aaron Donald's retirement, they have a pretty big hole to fill on their defensive line. And it just so happens that Johnny Newton falls to them here at 28. He's a similar mold to Donald. He's that sort of undersized guy, but he excelled at Illinois. He had 64 hurries and 12 sacks over the last 2 years. So there's plenty more room for production out of him. Yeah, nicely worked out there for the Rams.
Detroit picking at 29, coming off one of their best seasons ever. One of their best seasons ever.
Yeah.
Where does Dan Campbell pick?
Dan
Who
Campbell
does Dan pick?
is going for. Is this guy or is this guy down as an edge? He is. Darius Robinson. Now he is a guy who is 6'5", so probably oversized as an edge rusher, maybe a little undersized as a D lineman, but not by a lot. This is a little bit of dot connection. He's a Michigan native. I just see him as a Dan Campbell kind of guy. I think this is just maybe a pick that ends up happening. They can play him opposite Aiden Hutchinson, or they can move him to the D line. There's a little bit of flexibility there.
Yeah, very much fits the mold for the Lions. And what time What time would this be? Pick 30, about 4:30 in the morning, 4:45 in the morning. Your Broncos have teased you twice, mate. If you stayed up, where do they go at pick 30?
At pick 30, the Denver Broncos will take Bo Nix. They have recouped a couple of picks already from their two trades down, so they could maybe move down again if they think that Nix would fall even further than this. But yeah, they're going to opt to take Bo Nix as their QB of the future. He's a 5-year starting quarterback in college, and he's got a lot of traits that Sean Payton loves in a quarterback: quick release, good rhythm, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think if this happens, this is wouldn't surprise me at all.
Would you be happy with that pick?
I don't know. I don't know. I'd be fine with him. I think this far down, if we've traded back this many times, if we took him at 12, I'd be a little bit concerned.
Yeah. Quarterback favorite for the Broncos at 5 to 6 there. Obviously, I can't imagine that line moved much with the Zach Wilson news.
Not at all.
The penultimate pick of the draft, the NFC champions, San Francisco 49ers. Who are they going for?
This is like the ultimate dot connection. Not really based on anything. I'm probably gonna have to scroll down a long way to find the guy. So tackle is one of their biggest needs. Jordan Morgan's still there. Patrick Paul, who is touted to go in the first round, is still there. They are taking Roger Rosengarten, who is a very athletic tackle out of Washington. So both the Washington tackles have been drafted in the first round behind who obviously protected Michael Penix last year. He's had a private workout with the 49ers. Trent Williams is 36, and their right tackle, Colton McKivitz, gave up 13 sacks last year. This is probably a bit of a reach at 31, and they might take him a little bit further down at sort of in the second round, maybe even top of third, or bottom second, top of third. But yeah, this is just sort of a dart throw, but I think it makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, I can imagine Kyle Shanahan would be very favourable towards an athletic lineman. Final pick of the night, of course, it's the Super Bowl champs, the Chiefs. What are they doing at 32?
Yeah, so the Chiefs, they could obviously there's a couple of good receivers still on the board here. It's Xavier Worthy, Lad McConkey, Donnie Mitchell, Troy Franklin, speedster, Keon Coleman, sort of freak athlete. Xavier Legette is another great guy. This is some more dot connection. They take Kingsley Sumataya at 32, and this has been like an epic run of tackles in the first round of this draft, like just insane. I think I've taken 11 or 10 in the first round,
Yeah,
which
I
would
was I
be.
was about to have a look. Yeah, see how many have been.
I think it might be 10, but obviously more wouldn't. I think Patrick Paul, Jordan Morgan both have a decent shot of getting in as well. Yeah, the Chiefs, Wanya Morris is only on the books for 1.4 million dollars next year. Sumataya had a visit with the Chiefs, and yeah, Andy Reid, BYU guy. I think this one just makes quite a lot of sense, to be honest. So move on to my ad blocker's on. Who cares? Yeah, so there was a few trades. We'll just scroll down. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr., Joe Alt, Roma Dunze. You can just see it on the screen, and you can listen back to it if you're listening on Spotify. Yeah, look, this is just so far from probably what's going to happen, but it is just very, very tough at this point in time to work out what's going on because there's quite frankly just not a lot of information out there. But I think there will be trades, definitely. I think people will trade up for tackles more than likely. And yeah, maybe a few trades back into the first. Obviously, it's not Michael Penix going to the the Cardinals at 27. That made me laugh. I was wondering what the hell was going on then. It'll be to the Raiders. They'll trade back into the first round. I'll get that, changed if I can save this image somehow. Oh, there we go. Post. Yeah, that'll look great with Penix at 27. But yeah, that's my 2024 final mock, unless we hear some crazy news overnight or tomorrow about someone going somewhere. I think that'll be it. Liam, what would you be happy with Byron Murphy at 18?
Yeah, as I said, I think we're pretty flexible. I think all all need, even throwing wide receiver and corner in there. Obviously, O-line I think would be very much drafted for the future. I think Trent Brown and obviously Orlando Brown, they're going to be starting every year, obviously bar injury.
Yeah.
They're going to be in every game. So yeah, if we are drafting a tackle, it's most likely not starting until I imagine Trent Brown then goes next year. So yeah, I'd say number one need would be that defensive line because I just don't feel like we get enough pressure. Obviously, without Trey Hendrickson, it's pretty dim as it goes to pass rushers. And then obviously T Higgins, he's probably going to not be there next year unless a miracle does happen. And then corners, we weren't great against the pass last year, but I think the main issue was against the run. So yeah, I definitely lean towards defensive line as our pick, and defensive tackle, of course, would be ideal.
Yeah, and then obviously we've got not many trades in the top 10, apart from the Vikings trading up to for McCarthy. What I will say for this one is Denver could be in play for McCarthy if he gets to 8, because I don't think the Patriots going to move off 3. So they're looking for a king's ransom, and I don't think the Vikings want to give up picks 11 and 23 because they do have holes on their defense. They're not like a complete team. You know, McCarthy wouldn't be walking into a contender straight away. They do have good pieces in place, but there are definitely holes on defense. I think corner could definitely be in play at 23 as well. Or if they decide to hold on to both picks, maybe take Verse at 23 and Quinion Mitchell at 11, they could even jump the Eagles. So, yep, that is my mock draft for 2024. Final one, barring some changes tomorrow, which probably will happen, but we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Liam, thank you very much for joining me and playing host.
No, it was good fun. Yeah, I'm excited to see how your board plays out to Thursday night.
Yeah, we'll see. I can never remember how well my mocks do. I think not. The one that I can remember doing the best on was the 2021, where I think I had 6 the top 7 right, but I put Mac Jones at 3 instead of Trey Lance. So that was
Oh yeah, but that
a
was
pretty that was so in the air, wasn't it?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep. And then thank you everyone else for listening. I will post a picture of this mock on Twitter later on after I've posted the pod. Thank you for listening and goodbye.